Cowboys Nation, before we jump into today's madness, I need a real 1-second favor from you. If you love Cowboys news, rumors, honest breakdowns, and no nonsense takes you won't hear on mainstream TV, hit that subscribe button right now because we are grinding daily on this channel and your support is the only way this community keeps growing. Trust me, if you're locked in on Cowboys football, this is the place you want to be. Now let's get into it, because the Dallas Cowboys rumor mill is absolutely on fire and there is a lot to break down today. Right now, one of the biggest names being connected to Dallas in trade rumors is Rashan Gary, and this is the type of rumor that instantly grabs your attention because it actually makes sense from a football standpoint. Gary is one of the most physically gifted edge rushers in the league, a player who can dominate games when healthy with speed, power, and relentless effort. When you imagine him lining up opposite Micah Parsons, it almost feels unfair. Offensive lines would be forced to pick their poison, quarterbacks would be under constant pressure, and the Cowboys defense would be able to dictate games from the opening snap. That's the dream scenario, but reality always comes with a price. Trading for Rashan Gary would cost real assets, likely high draft picks and possibly more, and Dallas historically does not love giving up premium capital unless they are convinced that the move puts them directly into Super Bowl territory. This rumor feels less like a deal that's about to happen tomorrow and more like Dallas doing its homework, checking availability, and seeing if the cost ever becomes reasonable. Still, the fact that the Cowboys are even mentioned in these conversations tells us something important. They know the window is open, and they're at least exploring ways to maximize it. Now let's move to another name that has fans buzzing, Denzel Ward. This rumor is especially exciting because Ward is exactly the kind of shutdown corner that changes how an entire defense operates. He's fast, physical, technically sound, and experienced against elite wide receivers. If Dallas somehow added Denzel Ward to a secondary that already includes Trayvon Diggs and Darren Bland, we're talking about a defensive backfield that could legitimately be the best in football. That kind of secondary allows you to blitz more, disguise coverage, and force quarterbacks into mistakes, which plays perfectly into the Cowboys' aggressive defensive philosophy. The challenge, once again, is the financial and asset commitment. Ward is not cheap, and Cleveland would want meaningful compensation. Dallas would need to restructure contracts, make tough decisions, and fully commit to an all-in approach. This is where the fanbase is split. Some want to swing big while the window is open, others want to protect long-term flexibility. But make no mistake, if this move ever became realistic, it would be a franchise-altering decision that would send shockwaves through the NFC. Then there's the rumor that might be the most exciting of them all, the idea of the Cowboys signing Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah is a true difference maker at safety, a player whose instincts, range, and football IQ allow him to impact games in ways that don't always show up on the stat sheet. He's a leader, a communicator, and a turnover creator. The thought of Minkah Fitzpatrick roaming the back end of this defense while Micah Parsons wreaks havoc up front is enough to make any Cowboys fan sit up a little straighter. But this is also the most difficult scenario to pull off. Pittsburgh values Minkah enormously, and the financial commitment would be massive. Dallas would have to prioritize safety spending in a way they historically haven't. That doesn't mean it's impossible, but it does mean this would be a bold philosophical shift. More than anything, this rumor highlights the hunger surrounding this team, the belief that one elite addition could be the difference between another disappointing playoff exit and a legitimate championship run. Now let's talk draft, because this is where the Cowboys have quietly built the foundation of their roster year after year. Heading into the draft, Dallas is in a position where they don't need to force a pick, but they do have clear priorities. Offensive line is always near the top of the list, especially with durability concerns and the need to plan for the future. Finding a versatile lineman who can step in early or develop into a long-term starter fits perfectly with the Cowboys' drafting philosophy. Defensive line is another key area, particularly interior defenders who can stop the run and collapse the pocket. The Cowboys defense thrives when it controls the line of scrimmage, and adding more strength inside would only amplify what Micah Parsons and the edge rushers already do. Linebacker is also very much in play, especially players with speed, coverage ability, and versatility. Dallas loves defenders who can wear multiple hats, and the modern NFL demands exactly that. Day 2 and Day 3 of the draft are where the Cowboys often shine, and this year should be no different. This is where you could see them target a developmental quarterback, a big-bodied wide receiver who can help in the red zone, or a hybrid defensive back who can play multiple roles depending on the matchup. These picks don't always generate hype on draft night, but they often become critical contributors down the road, and that's how championship rosters are built. Now let's get into some of the biggest questions you guys have been asking. Are the Cowboys actually going all in this season? The answer is that they're walking a fine line. They're not reckless, but they're also not complacent. The front office understands the pressure, the expectations, and the reality of contracts coming due. Another big question is whether this team can finally break through in the playoffs. That's the elephant in the room. Until Dallas proves it can consistently perform at its best in January, every move will be judged through that lens. Fans also want clarity on Micah Parsons, and there's no doubt he's the cornerstone of this defense. His extension is coming, and how it's structured will impact everything else the Cowboys do. When you step back and look at the full picture, Rashan Gary trade rumors, Denzel Ward speculation, Minkah Fitzpatrick dreams, and a draft strategy built on balance and value, it's clear the Cowboys are at a pivotal moment. This is a team loaded with talent, carrying massive expectations, and operating under a spotlight that never turns off. They can continue trusting their process, or they can make one bold move that changes the narrative entirely. Either way, this offseason is shaping up to be one of the most important we've seen in years. And again, if you want to stay updated on every rumor, every move, and every breakdown, make sure you're subscribed, because things are only getting crazier from here.